One of my favorite videos is to talk about the cost of insurance over time. We're talking about 2025 going into 2026. What's the risk that we're looking at in 2025, which can benefit you cost-wise, and what should you be looking out for? Let's dive in and go in depth on these parts. Now, this is from an article from Bankrate. They dive into some of the numbers, and I love the averages. So we're gonna talk about the things I don't think is correct, which is the average cost of insurance. They say the average cost of insurance is $2,638. I personally think it's more than that. I think you're probably, if you include the really, really low states and you take out some of the big states, so if we knock off the top 5 states and the lowest 5 states, then yes, I think that we're right in that median of $2,600 per year, depending on the coverages and the risks and all that. Seeing what I see most is you're probably closer to that $2,800 per year. Not a big difference from what they're saying. In personal opinion, I think that it's a little bit higher than what they think. Now here's the shocking part. Most people think insurance is ridiculous and this is the cost, and it is, because you're paying hundreds of dollars for things for those that don't want to insure a car, and you kind of have to. The state has regulated it. They don't want this person being impacted because you didn't have it. All of those pieces play those factors. But if you really think about it, the average income, this is fairly accurate, which is the income base rate of what you pay is 3.39% of your average income. So the cost of insurance, although it seems crazy and it's always bouncing around, is less than 5% of what you earn on a yearly annual basis. The lowest state that you can get insurance in is Hawaii, coming in at close to half of what the normal cost is. The other part that they talk about is that the increase of costs from the last year to this year is, they went from $220 to the average of what they're saying now. So they're increasing about 12% per year. For those of you that are kind of wondering, am I paying too much this year over last year? If your increase has been larger than $30 per month, then they're recommending maybe you're with a company that had a larger impact. Now, honestly, I think that's not a true number. I think the impact has been way larger than that. I'm seeing increases of $300, $400, $500, sometimes even $1,000 per year, depending on what policies you're carrying. If you're carrying house, an umbrella, an auto policy, that's the normal policy that you would look at, or at least the 3 main ones that you would have. You're looking a couple hundred here, a couple hundred here, 100 here, and so you might have a $500, $600 increase. If you're seeing larger than that, you may want to look at independent agents. They're able to shop with Nationwide and Allstate and Geico and Progressive and all of those main carriers that you would want to look at, because they all fight each other for business. If you've been with a company for X amount of years, then they may want your business more than the company you're with. If you are looking for new insurance, I'll put a link in the description below where you can work with an independent agent that can check some options and just see if there are any better rates that are available for you. States that we've seen the largest increase, pretty common, is Colorado, Florida, Louisiana, Connecticut, and Georgia. For Florida and Louisiana, those are really the biggest 2 high-risk states right now. They've gone over $4,000 per year for full coverage on a vehicle. I would put Michigan kind of in there. That's one of our states. We've changed some of the medical, and we're probably close to that $3,000 per year range, $3,200-ish, depending on the policies you're looking for. If you've got 2 really nice cars or 3 cars and your average household, you're gonna have about a $250 to a $300 a month bill in most of these states. In Florida, you're looking closer to $400 to $500 a month bill just to hit the numbers that are average. The lowest risk drivers, they're called good drivers, are paying the least. So the average for a good driver is $2,634 per year. So a few $100s less than the standard or the across the board. But when it starts to get a little bit crazy is things happen. People's policies accidentally cancel, the credit card goes into some sort of system and it doesn't work, and all of the things that can cause that. For those that have a lapse in insurance, you're actually paying above the average. You're about $2,889 per year. About 3.72% of your income is going towards that policy. When we start looking at the risk factors, which is speeding, that's going to put you over $3,200 per year for your car insurance policy. The increase is about 15% on average whenever you get a standard speeding ticket. If you get a larger speeding ticket, 16 or more over the limit, it's going to be even more than that. The chances of having a major injury in an accident for those that have speeding tickets have increased the cost of insurance because there are larger payouts more commonly. Heaven forbid you have an accident, because now you're looking at about $3,700 per year. Think if you're in other states that are higher risk, now you're close to $4,000 per year. I've got some customers that that are happy with $5,000 per year because it's the best option with a ticket and an accident, or a couple tickets, a couple accidents. Not the common type of policy you want to carry, but in general, once you have some of those risks, you've got to wait for them to take their turn and fall off of that risk pool so it no longer affects your policy. And then the biggest risk is if you have a DUI, your average cost across the US is going to be $5,100 plus per year. You're now spending almost 7% of your entire income. I'll be honest, I think that's way larger than that, because if you are having accidents, having tickets, whatever the case is, and you're like me when I was younger, you're already a high risk, and it's not likely. I didn't have a large income when I paid $300 plus as a teenager, and that was way back when. It's probably $500 now, which is the average what we'd see today. Having those risks doesn't mean that you make more money. Your income to insurance ratio is probably or possibly a lot more than that. For those that are hitting the average, that's where insurance companies are trying to grab all that business. They want your business. Those independent agents get paid by the insurance company to find you the best fit. So they're not worried about which company is going to be the cheapest, the best, whatever. They're more concerned about having the right coverage that you're looking for. If we know we can get you the right coverage and we can fit the right company with that and give you the right coverage, or at least the most coverage for that budget you want to be within, then the insurance company is going to pay the agent anyways. You actually don't pay extra by going through an independent agent that can shop those options. So if you are in that 5 to 6% or lower range of where you're paying for insurance and you still think it's a little bit too high, check out the independent agent system. Whether you find a local one or you use the link in the description, they're likely going to find you the best deal. Now I'm going to grab my phone out because there was some statistics that I thought were really interesting. The standout statistics, nationally, the most expensive type was DUIs, which we talked about, $5,106, which is 94% more compared to the driving records. In terms of California drivers, that was also interesting. If you get a speeding ticket, you're going to see an increase of about 1,134, and you're going to be over 49% above the national average. For New York drivers, you're going to see the lowest premium increase following an at-fault accident. So it doesn't impact New York as much, because I think they're partially already rating for the cities in the larger areas being a little bit busier. Florida drivers, I saw this at my first job when I worked at a farmer's agency, and it was that you see the most laps. There's a lot of lapses in Florida. The rate increases is crazy. And because of that, there's a lot of what's called location verifications. So they want proof of residencies because it's cheaper in a lot of different areas and people know that. So they figure out, I live at cousin's house, not at my house. And the insurance companies understand that. So they're going to make you prove that you live there. There's a lot more fraud in that specific state. It's almost crazy to see that insurance isn't based specifically on the car anymore. This is actually an article that does talk about how SUVs don't necessarily cost more. They're safer vehicles. The Teslas, yeah, they're 3 times the cost because they have a lot more repairs and a lot more issues with those and liability things. Those pieces aren't playing as big of a factor as previous times that we've seen. It's probably been over 10 years before they really cared as much about the vehicle. Don't get me wrong, they're symbols, so the risk of a vehicle do play a factor, but the actual profile of the customer matters way more than the specific vehicle itself. Yes, if you have a high theft vehicle, it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to pay a lot more, or a high performance vehicle, you're going to pay twice as much as the average consumer. But if you have good credit, if you have less tickets, no accidents, you can prove it with a usage-based insurance score. You can do all of those things that help you get those discounts. That's going to show that you're a good driver. And having those lower risks can impact everything altogether. $10 here, $50 here, $80 here. Before you know it, you're not the average where you're paying less than $2,800 per year, and even sometimes less than $2,000 per year. It all starts with the coverages you carry. I've got my Car Insurance 101 video here that's going to go over those coverages that most people are going to look at carrying. If you're just trying to find some other discounts, I've got a discount video here that's beneficial as well. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.